Okay, now the next type of shoulder taping that we're going to do is more to do with instability or rotator cuff problems. A little less common, a little harder to tape, but again, the things that you really need is probably 10 centimetre hyperfix, which is the underlay, which we've already laid down to go over the top of the shoulder. You can use Tough Skin. It's just an adhesive spray that will help just make it stick better, particularly with guys that are hairy, or better still, just get them to shave their chest there. Now, basically with the instability type problems or rotator cuff type problems, the position that they don't like is abduction, and usually at 90 degrees. So what we're trying to do is restrict that. And depending on what sort of injury it is, if you want to restrict it coming back more, you usually have them slightly forward in their position where you're taping them. But what we'll do for today's purposes is just tape them at 90 degrees of abduction and just get him to hold it there, basically. Now the big thing with this is just making sure that you don't get it too tight around the biceps, and there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. First of all, we just stick an anchor around the biceps, making sure that it's not too tight, and basically what I'll get the player to do is just tighten your biceps up for me. That's it, and do it with the biceps at its fully expanded position, and usually just do a couple of those. Okay, just tighten up. Now for anterior instabilities, basically what we want to do is get the tape going across the front of the shoulder joint, and there's a couple of different ways that you can do it, and my preferred option is to start it at the chest area, come right across the shoulder joint, doing it nice and tight, and then going underneath the biceps and finishing over the top of the tape that you've just laid down. And what you want to try and do is overlap that by a third to a half, going slightly down or slightly back up. And the same thing again is basically going underneath the biceps and then finishing on top of where you've just come from. And I'll just go up over the shoulder joint. And just be wary that you're not pulling too tight on the tape, because you'll end up making it too tight around the biceps. So you just got to be a little bit careful there. And basically, now usually that'll be enough, but again, depending on the severity of the injury, you can reinforce that a few more times. But basically what I'm trying to do is just cover the anterior part of the shoulder joint. Okay, and to lock it off in the neutral position, basically you just do the exact opposite. So what you're going to do is go over the back of the shoulder joint and just do exactly the same as what you've done for the back section. Okay, just drop your arm for me. All right, and then just finishing off with just some anchors nice and tight again. Now you don't really need to anchor off the biceps because you're wrapping the tape right around as you finish it off. But the big thing is if you try and lift your arm up for me, can you feel that restrictive? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's the idea behind it. So usually you'll tape it in the 90-degree position where the tape's taut, and as you come down it's got a few creases, but that's okay because this is the position up here that you're trying to restrict. Okay, now just to show you from behind when you're locking off these ones for the posterior part, is basically just starting at, there's the edge of the shoulder blade or the bottom of the shoulder blade. We're starting it just around that base area and then coming over the top of the shoulder and then anchoring around that biceps area there. Okay, so basically you don't want to go too low because it can impede them with all their muscles down here, but we're just sort of doing it the same angle at the back as we are at the front there, and then basically what you're doing is just going slightly below that to lock it off. Nice and tight, pulling down at the same time. There we go.